right, guys, what's going on, everybody? My name's Tyler, and we are back for a breaking news podcast today. I'm here with Tom, Cortex Zero. Listen, I'm not even going to waste too much time on this because the intro part of it, I'm not really, I'm a little bit, I don't even know how you want to call it. I guess I'm unnerved a little bit in a way. I don't know how you're feeling about this whole situation, but there's been a lot going on in the past 8 days, 9 days, if you want to say that. I mean, even if you don't want to call it let's say a starting point from the UAP report being dropped, right? 2 weeks ago. So if we want to start there and say, that's it's been a wild 2 weeks since the report was dropped. And this is, I mean, what are your thoughts on the spy balloon and where we are right now?
Where do I begin? Well, I guess it's like nervous excitement, maybe. Is my audio coming through? Can you hear me all right? You able to hear me?
One sec.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't hear you. I think you're coming in for everyone else, but I'm just having a little trouble.
You guys in the chat hearing me okay?
Oh, there you
Okay,
go.
yeah, he can hear me. You can hear me now too?
Yep.
Gotcha. Hi, Ty.
So, yeah, I don't know what that was.
We jumped in real quick on this one. I was like in the middle of like vacuuming my kitchen and like there's like a million things going on. My phone was just like going crazy all day today.
Yeah, and that's where we've been at, now that I can hear you and now that I can hear you. I mean, like I said, the UAP report comes out. It's pretty lackluster.
Yeah, pretty much.
I swear. I already broke the rule.
That's all right.
It's pretty lackluster, but they specifically identify balloon-like objects and national security threats. And then not even a week, 7 days later, a spy balloon cruises over the continental United States, being filmed by countless TikTokers and just civilians in general. They shoot it down over South Carolina, or as it goes into the water east. Is it east of South Carolina? And that kind of begins a frenzy into this whole thing. And then again, it kicked up Friday with something being shot down near Alaska, and then yesterday, I thought it was a joke. I really did.
I did too.
When I sent that to you, the Canadian Prime Minister had confirmed that they had shot down a third object, or at least a third object, second unidentified, including the one Chinese spy balloon that we can identify at this point. But the one that has the more footage, right? The one that flew over the continental United States, they're quick to label it they were quick to label it and say it was Chinese. Now, these other two objects that over this past weekend, much more mystery surrounding them.
Yes.
So maybe you could start off with, let's start off with the Alaskan object, noting that it was much smaller in size. So maybe you could walk us through that.
So, yeah, I mean, pretty much anybody that follows me on Twitter, I've been sharing as much as I can. If you want to now, I'm at Atomic Thomas on Twitter. If you just search Cortex Zero, you'll probably even find me, but just change the O's to zeros. So I want to start with this because I found this really peculiar and very out of character for this particular news organization. I shared a clip from CNN talking about, I guess, reports from the pilots. I don't know if they were given directly to CNN. I don't know. They weren't really clear on how they obtained that particular piece of information.
Which one? Which piece of information?
It was noted. I'll read it to you. CNN reporting UFO shot down over Alaska. When the pilots looked at the object, they could identify no visible means of propulsion, and they did not know how it was actually staying in the air.
Staying in the air. Not how it got in the air, but how it was
staying in the air.
So when a pilot, now if I'm not mistaken, multiple pilots have given contradictory information.
Yes.
With some saying that it messed with communications and signals, with others saying no, that didn't happen, and then
Mhm.
others saying I no discernible means of propulsion, don't know how it's staying in the air, no flight surfaces. That sounds like a characteristic. I mean, not characteristic. That sounds like a classic UFO description. If I was,
No, that's fair to use the term characteristic. That like if I hear all of those terms together initially, it sounds like someone is beginning to describe an anomalous object. No question about it. But before we go any further with any of this, I want everybody to temper their expectations. Like, we have no idea what this is. We have no idea if it's man-made, not man-made. Of course, the average Joe is going to lean towards this being, Russian or Chinese, right? My
well, even
question.
my boss, just to pause you for one moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
This morning, like I always talk to my boss about this kind of stuff. Anything time, like, he knows what I do. He knows what I like to talk about, and he's no stranger to the idea. He's actually pretty religious too, so that's kind of
Okay.
like why I like to talk to him.
Right. My boss
to
is
feel
too
him
as well.
out. Yeah. And he's like, looked at me. He's like, oh, they're Chinese. Not even an hour later, China was reporting, one of these things over the Yellow Sea. Now, I showed him that, and he goes, so they're Russian? I was like, dude, like, stop assigning countries. We don't know. Anyone who tells you they do is lying. So we have, yes, we have more questions than actual answers for everybody today, but we need to be not quick. We need to be slow about assigning, state, country. We need to be very, very careful about labeling and filling in the blanks.
Lenny to the Quantum in the chat says there's a ton of misinformation as you would expect, but this is something else. I always said 2023 would stand out, and I still believe that notion. It's so funny. I don't like to do the whole Nostradamus. No, well, in this case, since my name's Thomas, I don't like to do the whole Nostradamus thing. Like, my girlfriend and other people, I've heard, like, I can name like a dozen people that said they felt that this year was going to be wacky, and they didn't know why. They just said they had that feeling. So obviously, we're still kind of on that path right now. But this is breaking news. Probably for a lot of people in the chat. I shared it, but this needs to be brought into the picture. So we have the objects obviously over the United States, and then today there's an object that was reported by the Chinese. But
which threw a real wrench in everything, because China doesn't openly talk about things that are happening in their country. Like, they don't just come out and say this kind of shit.
But Ty, it gets better. It gets even. Okay, so that was, and if I'm butchering the name, I apologize to anyone that maybe be a part of the Chinese audience. The unidentified object was detected near Rizhao in China, according to Chinese state media Global Times, citing local maritime authorities. Shoot down by Chinese military is imminent, reports say. That's from an hour ago. But oh no. But wait, there's more. This is like an entire infomercial for weirdness, right? So it gets better. In Uruguay, the Air Force is investigating a sighting of flashing lights in the sky over Termas de Almiron. I shared the press release. So
yes,
and don't forget, earlier in the week, like, I'm pretty sure Venezuela was involved too. Like, South America had reported a similar object. So United States / Canada, with Alaska, China, South America. Now today, Uruguay. Oh no! But it gets better. From like an hour ago. An hour ago! A USAF tanker is hanging out over Lake Michigan. Yeah. Reports of an object in the area. Now the alert over there has since been lifted. The airspace alert has been lifted. But it's so funny because the news outlets on Twitter, and let's disconnect from CNN and the mainstream outlets for a second. But the news outlets that are more independent, like Raw's Alerts, for example, on Twitter, he's got 200,000 followers, but still, he even said, hey, this is starting to get weird. So it's like I'm seeing those types of comments from people that I don't normally see it from.
This was getting weird after the second thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
After they shot down something over Alaska, That's when it started getting weird because I was like, huh. And then the Canadian one just flipped. The switch was flipped. This is not normal because, and I don't care what anyone's like. Everyone, there are a lot of people saying, people are getting too excited, and maybe that's true. Maybe that is
Oh,
true.
to some degree, I saw that pretty quickly.
Yes, and
But
I kind of want
now
to
I
run
think
through
they
the
have a reason.
list.
They have
Yeah,
a
I want to
reason.
run through the list.
Yeah, let's do
So
that.
I have as of Saturday, which was the first real domino to drop, was that the U.S. confirmed that a spy balloon was making its way across the continental United States before it was shot down on Saturday. Now, this is really this is a huge first domino because we don't tend to run active military missions over our continental United States. Like this was a legitimate mission to shoot something down over that came over our country. This does not often happen. Now, note that, keep that note there. Second, almost less than a week later, a second mysterious craft shot down over Alaska after President Biden ordered the down. Within hours of detection, the object was taken down by an F-22, and they discussed how the crash retrieval would go and what was going to hinder it. It's like negative 45, I believe, in that area. So that was always going to be a tough
Very cold.
one. Yes. Not even 24 hours after that shoot down, in as many nights, 2 objects had been taken down, latest being the northern Canada, which was confirmed by NORAD and Prime Minister Trudeau, also the Pentagon. Now,
Correct.
this is the first active NORAD mission over North American airspace. So again, we're checking, some boxes, and we're getting that F-22 real, capability tested right now.
Yes, absolutely are. So I also wanted to point out that there's a gentleman that I talk to on a pretty consistent basis named John Burbank. John was on the Nimitz in '04. So he is technically a direct witness to the Tic Tac incident. He messaged me earlier, and he wanted to convey this to me. He said, "I don't think Americans realize how big of a deal it is to even shoot one object out of the sky within our own territory, let alone 3 in the matter of a week."
Yeah. With multiple other
And
confirmations that
he's
something.
former military, and he's saying, I don't think people are catching on to just how big, regardless of its origins, whether it be extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or man-made, it doesn't even matter. In principle, this is funky. Whatever is going on, this is extremely unusual. And, could it be some sort of political maneuver that because this happened, because we shot the one down over the United States, China decided to quote unquote retaliate by shooting
Right.
one of ours down? Because come on, we all know,
or they just put one up
that we're spying
themselves.
on it. Right. Or it could be that, or we could have even done the same. Now, I will say this. I thought of some things. If we're going to tie this into UFO disclosure, if this truly does have anything to do with that particular subject, which I don't know, gut feeling says there's something there, I would say
Right.
this. Wouldn't it make sense, because the military does not like to admit to things it does not have control over. We've spoken about this before.
Mhm.
Wouldn't it be a wise strategy to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. If we're going to disclose anything, we need to try to portray the image that we still maintain dominance over the skies. So what do? We throw something up in the air, we shoot it down. So it pings radars, the whole 9. We can prove that in case there's a congressional hearing that has to happen. But then we roll out some of the old tech that we've had in these hangars for a while and just say, oh yeah, that's what we shot down. Create the image that we still have dominance over the skies, but create the image that we can shoot down these things that are not human, right? Like to try to quell some of the potential fears. Because let's be honest, the average citizen doesn't think the same way as a military strategist or analyst. We just don't. They look at things very differently. So if they want to convey to the public that there is nothing to fear here, hey, look, we were able to shoot it down, we can compete with them, that's one. But then again, on the other side of this could just be some sort of grand deception where they pull something out of the sky and they're like, "Oh, hey, look, it's man-made. Guarantee you would have all thought this was a UFO if you saw it with your own eyes." Like, this could very much be potential pushback from the side in the shadows that doesn't want this stuff to get out. Remains
Well,
to be seen, or it could have nothing to do with any of that, and it could just be, China, United States, maybe Russia, saber rattling of some kind. Like, hey, look, what you can do, I can do better. But I just don't know.
yeah, I don't know. If I was China, the last thing I would want to do after they shot one of my other ones down is put 2 more up,
Right,
right?
right,
That's not really tactical in my opinion. So I have a hard time believing in that thing,
fair,
but there's a huge stretch from prosaic to alien. And I say alien as in foreign, say non-human or foreign to this planet.
correct.
I hate to assign anything. And shooting down a balloon does not mean you can shoot down an extraterrestrial craft. I think
Right,
that's a stretch in itself.
of
But
course.
then, as we're speaking last night, the FAA shut down Montana airspace over Havre. And then today, just a little while ago, like you were saying, they shut down airspace over Lake Michigan, both having had confirmed radar tracks of something anomalous being flown in the sky or flying in the sky. Now,
Right.
I don't want to I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but it is like your average average Joe Schmo citizen here is probably going to find this a little uncomfortable. And if this makes you uncomfortable, this is what transparency really looks like.
Yeah.
It's CNN reporting UFOs being shot down. And, the 2020 bingo card is really full at this point because I don't think that we haven't there's nothing that we can't deal with at this point.
Ty, I would really also like to point to the fact that right before like the last 24 hours and all of a sudden all these objects are popping up. Like we had the Chinese balloon, but Jeremy Corbell reported that he had direct knowledge. I guess he has sources, either connected to or within the United States Air Force, that we were, quote, kinetically engaging these unknowns.
Yes. Oh, you saw
So
that one too.
I mean, and he seems to be displaying a very high
Kinetically
level of
means that we're
confidence.
firing on them. Just
Yes,
so if
yeah.
anyone doesn't know.
Again, I just wanted to be very specific in my verbiage there.
And
And not only that, but some of the incident, I believe one of the incidents that occurred out in the Midwest, like let's not forget about this one. There were jets scrambled yesterday because something was pinging the radar out in the Midwest. I believe it was either Montana or Michigan, and
yeah,
I
we just
apologize
talked
because
about
there's
that.
so much happening. So, but they went there and it's not there. Like I feel like we really need to focus on that for just a second. How how is it that you have something pinging radar to such a degree that jets were scrambled, right? They get there, there's nothing there, but then it's being reported to the press. Ty, how many times in history do you think that's happened that they didn't report it to the press? Like this begs the question, why are they
Yep.
suddenly reporting it to the press? I had tweeted out myself, how many times has NORAD picked up UAP? Regardless of origin, that's just the broad term we're using right now. Unidentified aerial phenomenon. I'm being very specific when I say that. Of course, I want it to be what we all want it to be because it moves the world in a really interesting direction. But just for the sake of being unbiased and being transparent here, I'm talking it could be anything. But how many times over the course of my lifetime, I was born in '89, we'll just go with that period of time. How many times do you think NORAD has picked up UAP and has either intercepted or in some other form or fashion engaged whatever they were picking up and didn't talk to the press about it? This is unprecedented. This is not normal. Whatever it is, it's not normal. And I don't know, there's an obvious pattern developing here. It seems like every day now, every day this week, something else, something else, something else. But not only that, now these two stories are unrelated. but I just wanted to point them out because they were sent to me this morning, and they're bizarre. Okay, something happened in Ohio. Did you happen to see this? That
Train crash.
yeah, but like, did you see the toxic chemical cloud
Yeah.
coming off of that? I thought that
Yeah.
was fake. I thought the guy who shared it, I just couldn't tell if this was like some sort of the way he describes and types things. I thought it was like some sort of like parody, like me, like The Onion. And then I'm seeing like, oh my God,
No.
it's like raining apocalyptic nonsense over in Ohio. Like there's like crows falling out of the sky. There's like dead frogs. And again, I don't want that to sound biblical. It's because there are chemicals
does it
being
not?
released into the air. But
How
how
does
does
it
it not,
not?
right? I know. I'm just saying it's not happening just
How
out of
does
nowhere.
how does
There's a
how
cause
does
that can
any
be
of
attributed
this?
to it. I know. At
Yes.
the same
How does
time.
any of this sound normal?
Oh, but it gets even better. Ty, New York Post, February 9th. But we're at the 12th. I bet this flew under everybody's radar. According to scientists, a piece of the sun broke off.
Huh.
Very curious. Scientists were left baffled after material broke off of the sun's surface and created a tornado-like swirl around its northern pole. You know what that reminded me of? That footage from years ago where you're looking at the sun and this weird like plasma ball. We were talking to Stephen Bassett about this before we started the show with him. The plasma ball comes up to the sun. It shoots out like a strange like umbilical cord. It's sitting next to the sun. It's doing whatever. Cord pulls away. And this object, which looked to be about the size of like, I don't know, Saturn, pulls away from the sun. And there were people online that I had spoken to about that, one of whom had the gall to try to tell me that this was a natural phenomenon. And I'm like, yeah, which one? They didn't tell me about that when I was in high school science, that there were just giant plasma balls the size of heavenly bodies that just decide to pull up to the sun like a gas station and fill up on God knows what and then just run away.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like,
Doesn't make any sense.
we're in Twilight Zone territory here, ladies and
That's
gentlemen.
what I was
Whatever is
honestly
going
starting to
on
think.
here, like this is getting weird. It is. It is. And it's and even if this is just regular man-made tech, I'm not personally comfortable with the fact that a communist nation with nuclear weapons is just they're just sending out all their balloons and spy devices, and we're just gonna dance over the United States airspace. Like, how long has that been going on? See, and this is why I got so angry the last time we did the show when you mentioned how Green Street thought we were wasting taxpayer dollars on unidentified aerial
Oh, you
phenomena.
should hear what he's got to say about all this.
I didn't even bother to look.
It's all drones, by the way.
But to be fair, even if this incident this week, even if it is all drones, it still needs to be addressed. Does it not? Right? Is it a waste of taxpayer dollars to investigate? Because we need to be weeding out the regulars from the irregulars. And the only way you can do that is through transparency and through creating these new offices like Arrow, etc. That's the only way we're going to get there.
Well, I have a couple things to. So does this? I mean, this can't be too coincident. I can't even wrap my head around this still. But think about the UAP report and how it mentions balloon-like objects and balloons citing national security, and then not even a week later, right? We have balloons that are flying over the United States and UFOs being shot down. Does it all feel a little bit too good to be true? Like, I can't help but think, I think our gut is telling us, like, don't let the military fool you. Don't let them, like, just because they're being transparent doesn't mean they're being 100% truthful. So we definitely have to be careful about, the steps we take in the next couple of weeks. After all of this stuff, I'm really focused on the crash retrievals, how they handle them, and how they approach them. And if they're similar or sound, or at least look similar to ones that we've heard about that have gone behind the scenes that weren't reported in mainstream media, like the Roswell retrieval and other,
which was
retrievals.
initially reported to be a disc.
Which technically was, yes. So how is this transparency going to propel us forward? And what does this mean for national security? Tonight, during the Super Bowl, what if something flies over Arizona?
Oh, dude, I was thinking about that. I'm
I'm
so happy you brought
serious.
that up, and I'm
I'm
serious too.
serious.
That would be. I'm actually speechless. I don't even know how I would go about describing something like that. Startling
Yeah. I'm not
beyond
even going to
all
say,
reason.
because people are like, what if something lands on the 50? Okay,
Ah,
let's take a break. Let's pull it back a little
what
bit.
if?
But what if during the Super Bowl,
Honestly,
everyone's watching, and all of a sudden they have to stop the game because something's above them, right?
I find the
I
timing
mean,
odd too, right? Like today is the Super Bowl, which is what? The most watched televised event of the year, basically every year.
people take the weekend off for this
Yes.
kind of stuff.
Like, the
So
Super Bowl
everybody's
is
watching.
essentially a holiday at this point without it being a holiday, and it's not even just because it's football, but it's like it's become sort of like an American pastime type of event where it's another opportunity for friends and family to get together, to eat, have a good time, you root for your team. Like, after the show, what am I doing? As much as I'm gonna be monitoring this, I'm going to my parents' house. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm doing my thing. I've watched the Super Bowl every year of my life at my parents' house. Like, it's a tradition. So, with all eyes on this event tonight, I don't want to sound like, some of the guys that I see on Twitter today, like the end is near and blah blah blah. Like, I'm not trying to sound like that. But Ty, you made a really good point. What if? What
Just what
if?
if?
Like, something feels just extremely off about this whole thing. Whether it be like a distraction from something else, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm being distracted from if that is the case. But this is bonkers. Come on, guys in the chat. Like, have any of you ever seen anything like this before?
No. No one's seen anything like this before.
No.
I promise you, if you go looking, stop now. You will not find anything like this in human history.
9/11 is the closest thing I can think of as far as airspace incursion and
Okay,
a strong
yeah.
reaction. But again, that's a very isolated incident. This is unique in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because nobody knows who the fuck to blame.
And it's a multi-day event. But not only that, I know a lot's happening over the United States here, but let us be very clear as we report this. This is essentially global. You have the United States, you have Canada, you have China, you have South America, Uruguay. Like, I'm I don't know what to say.
Well,
And I rarely feel that way about this, but it's like I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't.
it also dictates a conversation about national security and whether or not anything comes from this, whether or not they next week they tell us, hey, by the way, yeah, we got one, and they pull out some wreckage of a craft that they've had for
Fine by
8
me.
years, right? And that's what propels this thing forward. I mean, we've already been talking about
Maybe that's the move.
yeah, we've been talking about how, and I'm not going to get too, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too far on this one, but honestly, it's been kind of creepy because like I've in the past 6 months, 7 months, I've uprooted everything to come talk and discuss something about, UAP, UFO, because something felt like it was on the cusp. And
Yes.
now feeling and going through this, it's almost like serene and Twilight Zoney, like you said earlier. And it's almost like too good to be true. So again, I think we need to stay vigilant, but we also need to keep our our ears to the ground and do our due diligence as not only civilians but as people in the world. Because I mean, I don't know if you've seen what they're saying is flying over how do you pronounce it? Uruguay?
Yeah, Uruguay. There's a
Okay.
couple of ways. Any
A
ways proper.
couple of the
Yeah.
videos coming out of there are just simply not weather balloons or spy
Right.
balloons.
I've seen some videos from the past 24 hours on Twitter that I'm like, that doesn't look man-made to me. Like, I mean, just a few. There were just a few. There were a couple that did look like they would be man-made. But like all right. I haven't seen anybody say this. Is it possible that this is being done as a coordinated effort to distract us because there's something actually going on in the skies that they don't want us to notice.
That's gonna. I think that is something. It's a very valid ask. There is, you know, I wonder what. I noticed that people like you and I we were open to comment about it, but the Corbells, the Naps, anyone who you went to look for answers because they've given to you before have been eerily silent about. I mean, Elizondo just tweeted out because everyone knows where he lives and he knows that he lives right next to that Montana one. So people have been asking him, dude, what's up? Like, are you paying
Right.
attention? What, like, you got the ball rolling. Now it's happening. Where are you? Like we do need our UFO, UAP bigwigs to kind of step up and be in the picture on this one. And I think they will be, but I think it's just too soon.
I think they're getting their intelligence together and trying
Which is
to, get their information right, which is fair.
because we don't have the luxury of doing that. So
They leave it to us to be the ones down here on the ground that are like covering it minute by minute. To be fair, I believe.
And for anyone, if step outside, look up in your sky.
Yeah, man. I mean, I live right next
to
a military base. I live next to the largest joint military base on the East Coast, Joint Base MDL.
Yeah,
And
so
like, I've been looking around. I personally have not, if I saw something, trust me, I'd tell you guys. Everybody would know. It would be all over my Twitter.
So
I don't know.
I want to break it, or I want to jump over to something here. It's a quick video. Let me present it in. We're gonna start. I want to watch a couple of the newscasts.
Please, yes.
Because I think it's very important to see that this is not being reported on the New York Post, but I mean CNN and ABC, and I mean this is much. There's a reason this feels different, and it's because it is.
They saw. And just to take you back for a sec, on Thursday, the U.S.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it. Can you guys in the chat hear that? Okay.
This is kind of unusual that these pilots saw different things, and that is sort of, I guess, adding to the mystery of all this.
Yeah, not even the pilots apparently were really able to identify what they saw. And just to take you back for a sec, on Thursday, the U.S. defense officials sent F-35 fighter jets up to try to figure out what this object was that was flying around near Alaska. Those pilots, we have learned, have given very conflicting accounts of what they actually experienced, with some pilots saying that the object interfered with the plane's sensors, other pilots saying that they didn't really experience that, other pilots saying that when they looked at the object, they could identify no identifiable propulsion system, and they did not know how it was actually staying in the air, cruising at that altitude of about 40,000 feet. So this has all added to the Pentagon's wariness of describing in more detail what this object actually is until they can get more information through the debris that they are recovering right now.
And I love that they got to throw that in there, right? Oh, this is why they're quick to not describe it, right? It's like, oh, well, I think there's other reasons for that.
I found it bizarre that CNN would even go as far as even mentioning like the whole bit about, unidentifiable means of proportion and such. Like, I watched that video yesterday with like my jaw on the floor. I could not believe what I was hearing. Also, I want to point something out. I had shared a tweet yesterday from a representative of the wonderful state of Montana.
Yeah.
And he deleted his tweet.
Is that the one about him being in contact with NORAD or constant contact?
Yeah.
Constant. Yep. God, I can't fucking talk today.
Yes, I do believe. Yeah. Just scrolling through my Twitter here.
I thought really clear. I didn't think he deleted it because
Tim McMillan also said he had a question from someone called the Ultra Normal on Twitter. He said, Tim, what are your sources saying about what was shot down over in Alaska Friday night? Tim said, quote, I'm working on it, smiley face, but things have been unusually tight-lipped.
So they're being open, but they're also being, I mean, if you want any details, you're going to have to be the guy shooting it down because they're not going to give them to you. I mean, the shape, the size, the size. So we can say that the Chinese spy balloon was its payload was roughly the size of 3 buses put together. This second object, much smaller, was about the size of a car, according to the what's his name? Oh God, I forget his name. He's the Pentagon rep that's been coming out.
Oh,
If you can
I
look
know
his
I
look
know
who
who
up
you're talking
look up
about.
who that is. I forget his name. But
I know who you're talking about.
he did a extended press conference where he talked about anything that he could give us about the object over Alaska specifically.
Right.
And what we got was a small car-sized metallic grayish color.
Yes. Cylindrical gray. Lenny to the Quantum just said that in the chat. Silver and cylindrical.
So this is not the Chinese spy balloon, but anything after that since Thursday, by definition, they're unidentified aerial phenomena. We do not know whose they are. We do not know what they are, and we do not know why why they're there. So these are what lead us to that UAP moniker, and other people fill in the blank, say it's alien, say it's this, say it's that. No, that's not what we're doing.
We can't do that yet.
No one can do that.
Like we all have our Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Steven Spielberg pipe dream, right? Where it's like I put my hand out and they put their hand. That's the moment of contact, right? Like all of that. Like of course that would be a beautiful thing to see. We have no idea what is going on. We don't.
None.
I am not going to come on here and do what some people have done on Twitter today, where they're like, "This is it. Disclosure is happening." We need a little more before we can. We need a lot more before we can make that kind of declaration. Can't have it. Can't do it.
So to what Jay said here, I definitely want to see an image, something, even if it's blurry.
They showed us the balloon. They should be able to show us everything else, right?
Well, that's this is what's driving me crazy. Of course, and everyone wants to say this. They're like, oh, well, they didn't mind showing us the balloon. It's like, no, they didn't show us that. It showed us it. It was very, very, very clear about its presence. Like it flew over the main United States where people could just take videos of it. Immediately after that, we see something, and for comparison, this is great to see how they handle something that's over the continental United States where everyone can see it, and when something isn't, because they were very much more tight-lipped about what was shot down over Alaska and now in Canada than they are about what they labeled a Chinese spy balloon that flew over last week, right? So you can see clear-cut differences in how they handle situations informationally wise, right?
Yes,
to the public.
That's absolutely right. We have like a little bit of a sample size here to work with now. I appreciate the fact that if something, just say for example, from another country, especially an adversarial country, one that we've categorized as being such, like I would want to know about that, and I do commend the military for at least some level of transparency regarding this object. But I also have questions as to why it made it as far as it did, and I'm specifically referencing the Chinese balloon. But they said there was a press conference like 2 days ago, I believe it was. They said that they had specific strategic reasons as to why they handled it the whole way through the way they did.
And think about it, right? You shoot that thing over, over the land, and let's remember how big it was, right? 3 buses. That's coming down.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
When you shoot it, it's coming down. So they obviously didn't want it coming down and doing any property damage or worse to any citizen or private company or anyone in. So I think what they did was they didn't shoot it down when they first were told about it, and they decided to do some counter intel on it instead. And they didn't prepare us or prepare the people that were in its path. Hey, just so you know, we know it's there. Don't worry about it. We'll be taking it down, but and I think they handled it pretty well.
I do too. Real quick, I also just wanted to say hello to John Burbank, who's now in the chat, who I mentioned earlier that I spoke with through DMs. He's the gentleman that I said he said 3 of these in 1 week. From his perspective, especially, is this is extremely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, and could the object that was shot down over Canada or over Alaska be something that resembles the Tic Tac? I think these are all fair questions to ask at this point. Especially when there are pilots saying that it had no means of being in the sky, right? When you hear about when a pilot says something like that, you need to asterisk it, right? And look further, because if a pilot can't figure out how something's staying in the air, we have a problem.
It's very strange. And it's like we don't know what technology the most powerful countries on this planet truly have, right? Like we don't. But all right, let's just say for a moment that the United States or anybody has anything like the Tic Tac, right? Where it's quite a leap in technological prowess. That doesn't mean we're not being visited, because we've been seeing objects like this for centuries, guys. Like that, Adam, it could be. It really could be. We have no idea. But the point that I want to drive home to everyone is that there have been, for Christ's sake, there was a sighting in the journal of Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
Where he saw lights out on the Atlantic Ocean that were coming out of the water.
And he said he thinks they guided him. He said that he felt that they were guiding him. And I just say to myself, they guided you in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
You fucking.
Oh, we just did that at the same time,
literally.
Dude. That's gonna be a GIF later on.
That's a clip.
That was way too good, and I didn't even mean to do that. Oh,
that's a clip.
Man, that's a clip. Clip it now. So I'll say this: if I personally believe that if any country on the planet right now has a Tic Tac, we didn't invent it. I don't think so.
No, I think
that's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I'm not
I think
a
it would
military
be
analyst,
reverse
but I
engineered.
I do believe so, because there was that, if you just go back to the 40s and then Moore's law and such. I mean, there is a drastic jump in ability. And it's obvious.
I'm actually happy to report, and I'm sure you are as well. Are you surprised or not at all that there hasn't been more panic from the civilian side of things?
Not surprised, and I base that on the reaction to the 2017 article.
You think now we've been talking about this for weeks now, and it's kind of like weird that we're sitting here having this conversation now.
Yeah, it sure is.
Kind of leading up to it, right? It's like, how is disclosure going to happen? Well, it's probably going to happen like this. They're going to ease us into it. They've been molding us to be ready for it, and all of a sudden,
feels that way.
Now it kind of feels like we're being thrust through the wormhole a little bit. But
you just low key made a point. Low key, what if this is a globally coordinated test run to see how people are how would people react to things in the sky, blah blah blah, and the shoot downs are merely a consequence, because it's like, all right, we have to tell them it's in the air, and if we don't shoot it down, how is that going to look?
Right.
Like, what if this is really just a test run? Like,
you ever heard of Project Bluebeam?
Oh God, of course. Now listen, that apparently, I want everybody to be careful with that particular topic, because I've heard, and I have to dig a little further on that one, but I've heard that it has origins in a book that was, I forget, it was written in the 70s or something, and that you got to be careful with it. Like, I don't know how much truth there is to that one. But it is true that there is technology that can make people hear and see things. That is absolutely true. There was a guy that was just on Concrete's podcast not all that long ago that was talking about those, they were going to use it like in the Gulf War to try to get the Iraqis to basically put their weapons down and convince them that Allah was like speaking to them. Like, that stuff is out there. But the word, what I'm being very specific here, the word Bluebeam, like, there probably is nothing actually called Project Bluebeam, but that is more of like what we, the public, call it. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want there to be any confusion here. Holographic technology of that sort does exist. I don't know how advanced it's gotten. I don't know what they can put up in the sky and make it seem like it's there and whatnot. But I do know that there is also technology that not only can they make it look like something's in the sky, but they can create radar pings. That is true. But that does not But that technology didn't exist during World War II. That technology didn't exist in the 70s. That wasn't there. Not real.
Yeah.
Not to that degree.
And I think this says a lot about our wherewithal in the UAP subject, and how close, how how closely on the line of like, just ever since that article came out in 2017, I think a set of dominoes was set down or sent, kind of ticking over. And, could this be a false flag operation? Could it be something?
I said it to Zio earlier today. I said, it's very, and I said it last night when, we were on real late last night, chit-chatting. I said, I hope I'm wrong and even theorizing in that direction, but like, what if this is exactly that? And, these objects, some of these objects that are being shot down were actually sent up by the United States just to blame on somebody else. And what if China is just reciprocating and they threw something up? Oh, look, we got something from the United States. It's like, that's a dangerous game to be playing. And I really hope that's not the case. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, just going on to Google homepages and stuff, right? I've never ever seen more speculation about something in my life. I mean, you got actual reporting outlets like Newsweek saying alien invasions, with those kind of words in their headlines. So I just want to point out the irregularity of the situation right now.
It's weird.
Why why we're here doing this?
Why we're live?
Yeah, why it's this is just no one's ever been through this, so it's kind of could the country's airspace be shut down? What then? Because once you shut down a whole airspace, then everybody knows. Right? I guarantee there's people right now in our country that don't know about this. But even any of this, all 4, all 3, all 7, I guarantee there are those people who just stay so far away and so far removed, they have no idea what's going on. But if you shut down a country's commercial airspace, right? I mean, then the cat's out of the bag, if you will. Right?
I mean, I think a couple cats are out of the big bag at this point. I feel like we have, ever since 2017, where we're kind of at the point of no return, and it's not a matter of are they going to shut this down and lock everything back up in the safe house, so to speak. It's a matter of how long is it going to take before the dam breaks. I feel like that like the clock's ticking at this point. Too many people have been seeing these for years. I'm going to make a grand general statement about the entire UFO phenomenon. We are being visited. I don't know how often. I don't know if they're constantly watching us. It sort of, feels that way. There are too many people that have had experiences where there's been multiple witnesses. There's been physical traces left behind. There's been biological and environmental effects. There is more evidence that we are being visited than there are for certain things in history that people believe to be true. I won't get specific because some people might take offense, but there are things that people believe in this world with far less evidence. So when I see these skeptics and debunkers coming out, and it's okay to be skeptical, but when I see certain individuals come, there's zero evidence. I'm sorry, but that's a lie. It's a lie. I mean, I have books in my room right now with photos of physical traces left behind from cases that date back to like the 70s. So don't sit there and with your giant audience on Twitter and tell people that there have never been any cases in the history of ever where there wasn't traces left behind. We're talking and far beyond just marks in the ground, but elevated levels of radiation, people getting sick, people that have died, marks on people's bodies. Like, you're lying if you tell people that there hasn't been anything like that. It's just, maybe you didn't know about it. Maybe it didn't come across your desk, at Skeptic HQ. But like, it exists. It's there. And what, you know, and the things that have been pulled out of people by certain doctors, the strange marks people find on their body, the fact that scar tissue is developed on abductees over 24 hours. Like, and I know abduction isn't your forte type, but I'm just kind of throwing it into the mix. There's evidence out there that would win a court case.
Yeah. Oh, there's plenty of people in jail for less.
Because people are
Right?
like, well, where's the photos? There's a lot more out there than just photographs. Like you have to look at the whole body of evidence here. You can't just be like, well, I've never seen like a truly perfect image of a UFO. Well, why is that? It must be because they're not real. Well, it would be very difficult to take a perfect image of something you don't know where it's going to be. You never know when it's going to show up, and it's traveling at like Mach 30.
And you're most likely using a camera that's meant for selfies. Right.
So how exactly? So how on earth do you make a statement like that?
Yeah.
Again, people are stuck in their ways. And again, I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but I really just want to point out the fact that the evidence is out there, and it's really not all that hard to find either. And it's video footage and photographs we're now in the age of difficulty with that, right? Because CGI, Photoshop, etc. I'm a video editor myself. If I wanted to make a good, convincing UFO video, I'm pretty sure with a little bit of effort, I could do that. But, and you have these video clips out there where it's like there's multiple witnesses. They're just like regular, normal people. You got multiple angles. You know, Phoenix Lights is a really good example. I believe that, you know, the footage that we see of the Phoenix Lights, that wasn't the craft. People saw a craft that night. But the military decided to throw up flares to create some confusion.
Yeah.
That's what I believe happened.
Or like plausible deniability.
Absolutely.
They at least injected that into the situation. But Steve, like I said, Stephen Greenstreet, you know, he is a self-claimed skeptic. He shared this clip from Meet the Press. This is, you know, this guy's definitely coming from a more realistic approach. So let's hear what they said on this show.
Okay. Hines is absolutely right about this. The problem here is the lack of information and people filling in the blanks on their own. I mean,
I've already been hit with the no. The Chinese thing is a story. This is really UFOs. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, it's all over the place.
Yeah, it has gone down some real rabbit holes.
And I think one of the things that he makes a good point about is we haven't been looking for. You know, balloon is a funny word. We like talking about balloons, and it was a giant floating middle finger above Middle America. But the reality is, these are all drones of one kind or another with different forms of propulsion. And I think, not to get into the alien thing, but to quote Yoda, begun the drone wars they have. We are going to be having this for a long time to come.
I don't know how to follow that up.
Got a break.
There is no try.
Yeah. So.
Corny that kind of was.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
No, but he makes
right?
some great points, though. To be fair, I'm not making fun of the guy here. But he makes some very, very, very good points to fill in the blank. That's true. That's absolutely true. That's why what we're doing here is that we're not filling in the blanks. We're theorizing. We're speculating. That's exactly what's being done. I also want to, I just wanted to point out the fact that we had 30 people in the chat. And thank you to everyone that's here. Make sure you do hit the like button, subscribe. I have my own YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys being here.
Got up to 49, and I was like, oh, that's the most it's been in a while. Because of, I mean, this is what I like to do. This is what,
yeah, me too, man.
These are the moments that we're supposed to be here. And
I live for this. It's fun. Come on, it's fun. You know, when there's, like, I don't like seeing people getting hurt, but I'll make a general statement. Like, breaking news where, like, everybody's kind of glued. There is an entertainment factor. There is no question about it. And I know some people may not like to admit to that, but like the day and the moment where, you know, the truth really comes out and we get that like official, you know, end of the truth embargo, as Mr. Bassett likes to call it. Dude, I'm not going to be able to move. You know, I mean, some of these headlines over the past 24 hours, I was sitting at this desk and I had my camera going. Zio and I are in Discord, and I'm just like, and I'm like, dude, you got to read this. Dude, I like, look at this headline. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, and this is kind of an oh my god moment. I got to be honest. This is bizarre. It's strange. Like, my biggest question, though, Ty, I'll ask you: where do you think this is going? Like, what do you think's going to happen over the next week?
I think that I have a strong suspicion that if they really wanted to finally do away with the secrecy and they wanted to involve citizens, that they would swap, even if it was just a balloon, swap out the wreckage for something that we've, found in the past. If that's how you want to do a disclosure, this is your opportunity for that. There's never been a better opportunity for
This is it.
So
this is it. This is a good moment for it.
yeah, if disclosure is something that's on the docket, on the agenda, and has just been, kind of been pushed aside till the moment arrives, this is it, right? In the next coming weeks, this is how you do it. Very easily how you do it. And with the whole world watching and with the whole world behind you, this could be a play for something larger, or it could be them just trying to get that pipeline thing out of the news.
Yeah. Who
know?
knows? Who knows? Absolutely. It could be a combo. Sometimes it's like they say, why let a good disaster go to waste, right? Like now, if I had to be a betting man, do I think that they're going to use this to capitalize on telling us the truth? Absolutely not. No, I don't actually think that they would make that move, because what do I have to go on? The past how many decades of secrecy and denial, right? But it is a good opportunity. Let it be known. If any of the Alphabet agency members are watching here that have any ties to this information getting out, like, this is a good, like, I'm okay with you lying in this situation. If you're going to tell us the actual truth, that we know that at this point, a lot of us feel like I saw what I saw in my life. We kind of know at this point something is going on. You want to swap out a balloon for some craft that you really did recover that really is not from Earth?
Do an opposite Roswell?
Yeah, exactly. Do like a a flipperoonie here, but the reason I'm okay with that is I'm normally not okay with dishonesty of almost any kind. We'll find out years from now that you did swap it. It'll come out. It'll get there. So I'm okay with that.
This was the gentleman I was speaking about.
Yeah.
I don't know his name though.
I always forget his name. I've seen him on TV so much lately.
So we got a minute 10 clip from The Guardian here.
So I can confirm that the Department of Defense was tracking a high altitude object over Alaska airspace in the last 24 hours.
Now it's 48.
The object was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight. Out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of the Pentagon, President Biden ordered the military to down the object. And they did. And it came inside our territorial waters.
Thanks, John.
Those waters right now are frozen, but inside territorial airspace and over territorial waters. Fighter aircraft assigned to U.S. Northern Command took down the object within the last hour. It was much, much smaller than the spy balloon that we took down last Saturday. The way it was described to me was roughly the size of a small car, as opposed to a payload that was like 2 or 3 buses size, right? So much, much smaller.
Yeah. And I think if this keeps going the way it's going, we're going to be seeing a lot more of Mr. Kirby.
Yeah, right. He's going to be busy.
Come do some overtime, especially if these things in China and where was the other one again?
Uruguay.
Yeah. If those pan out to be something, and there really is some global, escapades going on, and then we're going to be seeing more of more from the Pentagon, more from the White House, and I'm really interested to see where this goes, how it plays plays forward, and what happens as a result of.
I am going to be watching the Super Bowl very closely tonight, and I know there's going to be a lot of sky watchers that are probably going to be picking through the footage for any shot of the sky, because when they fly the fighter jets over the stadium, like right after the national anthem, dude, I'm telling you, there's there's gonna be like a bird or something, and someone's immediately gonna share it. Like, look, like I'm telling you, it's gonna happen, man. You know, what I've seen it before.
By the way, tonight's flyover is being done by the first all-female crew.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Can
to
dig
celebrate
it. Totally dig it.
to celebrate 80 years of women in the Air Force or something like
That's
that.
awesome,
80
man.
years. Yeah, so
dude, being a fighter pilot, like, to me is literally, I don't know if there's like a bigger badass than a fighter pilot. You know what I mean? Think about what that actually is. Think about guys that we follow in the UFO community that were like like Fravor and those gentlemen.
Graves.
Graves is a great example. Like, dude, that's guts.
Okay.
You know
and
what
now
I mean?
when they
That's
say
guts.
when a fighter pilot comes back and says, "Hey, I just shot down something. I couldn't figure out how it was staying in the air," we should probably look into that.
I
right?
agree. They're like the best trained observers probably on Earth.
Yeah,
I mean,
aside from astronauts.
And like Black Ops spies, maybe Navy SEALs, snipers. Like,
It was nice to
it's
see
all
them
military.
bring out the U-2s for the spy balloon.
Oh yeah, dude.
So,
The
I mean-
video, the footage of the balloon getting taken down, like in my head, I'm just like, I wonder what that was like being up there and being that guy. Like, was that fun for him? You know what I mean? Like, it's
It's
like,
got to be a little bit.
a little bit. Like,
But there's also
I'm afraid of heights.
pressure.
I'm afraid of flying, as you know. Like,
Well, then you wouldn't be in that seat.
no, God no. I wouldn't even go with the Blue Angels. Like, I mean, I've been in an airplane before, but like as I got older, I was just like, man, I like it even less now. But these guys are the tip of the spear, when it comes to like defending the United States. So that's why I just wanted to, I guess, maybe take a moment and say thanks. Appreciate that, seriously. Like, and that's why I trust their word. And I feel like the guys that are in, men and women and everyone in the chat right now that's listening, when a pilot comes out and says that they saw something weird, I think that you should really listen and you should really, really pay close attention to what they're telling you.
Yeah. And, I one little comparison here. So on a, wait, where is it? So U.S. fighter jet shoots down unidentified cylindrical object. And in the article, they go on to say it's metallic gray. Now think back about like a week and a half, right? And you remember that picture Corbell shared from Iraq?
Yep.
Well, that's small, spherical, and dark, gray.
Different shape, but I mean, it's very similar characteristics.
But I'm saying circles, spherical craft are ever present in the UFO community right now. So definitely keep an eye on that. But we'll probably be wrapping up. So Tom, where can they keep the conversation going with you? And for more updates on anything that happens, of course, if anything really breaking happens the next day or so, we'll come back.
For sure.
And
absolutely going to do that. So you guys can follow me on Twitter at Atomic Thomas. Change the O's to zeros. I'll type it in the chat. I'm going to start doing that from now on. And it's also on screen right now for you guys so that you can see it. I'm also putting the link right now in the chat. I would love to see you guys over my YouTube channel. I did like a whole revamp. My live streams, Ty, like because we're going to do it. Like, I cannot wait for the first show over on my channel where it's like video, it's everything. And you're the guy over there in the co-pilot seat for that. And also, if you guys want to reach out to me through email, which I haven't normally mentioned that, I'll give you guys my business email. It's tom@zerodigitaldesigns.com. If you guys have any stories, photos, or anything, you just want to talk, you have a story to share, please, my DMs are always open.
Yeah. And we always love hearing that kind of stuff. And those experiences are unique to each person. And again, I think the tides are turning and the pressure is on, especially on the military and government to tell us what's going on and keep us involved in not only prosaic military operations, but things that are a little bit more secret. Give us the baseline. Don't reveal yourself to our enemies, but don't keep us in the dark, because it's not going to work like that anymore. So I think if we send a message here and now, things are either going to change soon or the process begins. So we'll definitely keep in touch. Like I said, if anything does pop off in the next couple hours, I'm always available to come back on while the Super Bowl's on. I don't give a shit who wins.
No, man. I
think
that this is far from over. Whatever this is.
Yeah, whatever this is.
As far as the game goes, though, so we'll say this real quick. I'm a Giants fan, but
I don't even know who's playing, to be honest.
Half of my family roots for the Eagles. It's the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Oh, that's right. And it's
so when I go to the game, it's gonna be me and my dad. Who my brother's up in New York right now. He can't make it, but so it's us two Giants fans, and then my mom's the Eagles fan. Like her side of the family roots for the Eagles. My dad's side of the family roots for the Giants. But hoping that they win one for my mom tonight. So put that out there on the airwaves.
Yeah, well, I wish them luck either way. I'm a Raiders fan, so I just lose my
Raiders.
Yeah, I gave up on football a long time ago.
Yeah, especially being a Raiders fan.
Yeah, a long time ago. Haven't been interested. Plus, I mean, the biggest stories are unfolding right in front of my eyes. So what's not to be entertained about?
Right.
But again, we wish you guys well. Definitely be safe.
Yeah, be careful tonight.
I think there's there is a small portion of me that worries about mass panic. And I think that, I don't know why, but it's there. So just, be vigilant about what you share, what you report, what you're talking about, because I think this could be easily triggering a series of events that we regret. So be careful, keep your eye in the sky, and let us know what you see.
You guys have a good time tonight. Careful.